Greetings, Phenixx fans, I'm David Sanders, and today I'd like to share with you my thoughts on an indie game by the name of Weedcraft, Inc. This title was developed by Vile Monarch, published by Devolver Digital, and released on Steam in April of 2019. You might recall that in May of that same year, a little over a month after Weedcraft Inc. reached digital store shelves, my esteemed colleague Lisa reviewed the game in an article on the main site. If you're interested in reading what Lisa had to say about it, you'll find her review linked in this video's description. The reason I chose to create a secondary review of Weedcraft Inc. in the form of a companion video to Lisa's original article is quite simple. Assuming that everything has gone according to plan for me over the past 3 weeks or so, this video will have gone live on April 20th, 2021. For the sake of anyone unaware, April 20th, or 420 as it is colloquially known, is an unofficial quote-unquote holiday of sorts. 420 is celebrated by people who use marijuana for any reason, whether it's for the plant's medicinal properties or for recreational purposes. Because of that, I thought releasing a video review of a game about growing a mostly perfectly legal marijuana business on today of all days would be the most fitting thing I could possibly do. I'll discuss the game first and foremost while reserving my opinionated spiel about marijuana and the legality thereof for the end of the video. If that sounds agreeable to you, then let's get to it. Lisa mentioned in her review that upon launching Weedcraft Inc., you were originally able to choose between 2 scenarios. These scenarios serve to get you acclimated in terms of how the game is optimally played in case you want to experiment with your own custom games. What I want to mention right off the bat, though, is that a 3rd scenario has been added to the game since Lisa's original review was published. Thus, the game has more content to offer in its current state than we initially covered. I chose to start with what the game calls the basic scenario, which is entitled Growing Up. I figured that since the game calls this one basic as opposed to its labeling of the other 2 scenarios advanced, playing through Growing Up before doing anything else would serve as at least some form of tutorial. As it turns out, I was proven right about that to a degree that I didn't expect. I wouldn't say the game allows its tutorials to hold your hand too much at all. Rather, the Growing Up scenario serves to guide you through getting the hang of things via such methods as mission objectives you must achieve in order to progress. Of course, the sooner you can knock out those goals, the sooner you'll be ready to jump into custom games. Having said that though, it isn't like the game forces you to learn more quickly than you would prefer. The game seems to be perfectly content if you want to take your time experimenting with each level of new gameplay mechanics presented to you. For example, at a certain point in the first scenario, one of your advisors, for lack of a more descriptive word, will inform you that in order to oust some encroaching competition from your initial storefront, you'll have to, quote, get your NPK on, end quote. This slang acronym refers to the delicate process of balancing the levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in the soil in which you grow your product. The game goes about teaching you how to do this by instructing you to achieve an improved balance of these elements in a specific strain of marijuana, then go on to sell a specific amount of the subsequently enhanced product. Now, obviously the game won't outright tell you what the perfect elemental balance for that particular strain is. It wants you to experiment instead, regardless of how long it takes you to figure things out. I should also mention that all 3 scenarios have what's called a chill mode, which, when toggled on, allows you to, quote, relax and enjoy the game with less challenge, end quote. This could prove ideal for anyone who wants to learn the ropes of the in-game legal marijuana industry and its less legal underbelly, without worrying too much about not being able to progress due to a challenge with which they have a bit too much difficulty. Alternatively, chill mode could be a boon for the portion of Weedcraft Inc.'s player base that's primarily interested in the stories told within each scenario. I would say that Weedcraft Inc.'s gameplay can be neatly summed up in one word: micromanagement. That is to say, if you want to get anywhere in the business instead of just selling illegal, poorly grown pot out of your deceased dad's basement for the rest of your life, you'll have to keep a relatively close eye on a slew of moving parts. For example, as each marijuana plant in your possession grows until it's ready for harvest and sale, you'll want to ensure that every plant you've sown is well taken care of. You go about that primarily by consistently watering and training each plant as it grows. Thankfully, these processes are simple enough to where they only require you to click a maximum of 3 buttons, including the button to harvest your plants once they're ready, whenever appropriate. It's worth noting that if this process takes too long for you, you're free to speed up time to a certain extent whenever you wish. Bear in mind that placing in-game time on its fastest setting can make things more than a bit hectic all around, though. If you think you can handle managing all those moving parts, I truly believe you'll find yourself sucked into Weedcraft Inc.'s gameplay loops fairly quickly once you've got the hang of how everything works. If you need some help keeping your operations running smoothly, you can hire employees to assist with that later down the line. As you might expect by now, though, the process of hiring employees and properly utilizing their skills brings along with it yet more micromanagement. You'll need to carefully determine exactly how much to pay your employees as a baseline, as well as how much of a raise to give them each time they earn a promotion. You can essentially pay your employees however much you wish when it comes to post-promotion raises. If you're too miserly when it comes to their paychecks, though, you can expect your relationship with your assistants to take a nosedive quickly enough to make your head spin. Of course, even well-paid employees won't be of much use to you if you don't tell them what to do. You will therefore have to micromanage their tasks in addition to their financial bottom lines. All of that is to say is that as you experiment with all of Weedcraft Inc.'s moving parts, you'll find that there's a whole heck of a lot to take in, remember, and frequently call upon. Even so, if you stick with it, do your best to learn what the game so eagerly wants to teach you, and take advantage of the scenarios and in-game manual whenever you need to, I think you'll have a great time with the game. Now the time has come for my aforementioned opinionated spiel about marijuana, specifically as it pertains to the United States. For those of you who don't know, I have a neurological disability known as cerebral palsy. My disability affects my body and my mind in various ways, and in doing so, it prevents me from working anything resembling what most non-disabled people would consider a normal job. That's why I'm eternally thankful for my colleagues here at Phenixx Gaming for granting me the opportunity to eventually earn a living by doing what I love, but I don't want to stray off topic. What I'm getting at is that I've used marijuana in the past as an experiment to see how it might possibly counteract some or all of the various ways I'm affected by my cerebral palsy. I figured it must be at least marginally better than all these blasted pills I'm forced to shove down my throat multiple times a day in and day out. I've only partaken of the devil's lettuce twice at the time of this review, but both times I was absolutely amazed in every sense of the word by how much it helped me. It stopped my limbs and hands from shaking. It eliminated every last intrusive thought that existed in my mind due to my anxiety and depression. It helped immensely with my chronic pain. Heck, in short, there was nothing negative I was dealing with when I last smoked marijuana that the plant didn't come close to totally curing. It is for this reason that I often curse the so-called silent majority for electing Richard Nixon president of the United States in 1968, as he then went on to declare the extremely ill-fated war on drugs. There's a quote from the best-selling author and prominent YouTube personality, John Green, that springs to my mind in this context because it has stuck with me from the moment I heard it. While teaching a course about United States history for the YouTube channel known as Crash Course, Mr. Green once said, "No one remembers the Nixon administration for starting the Environmental Protection Agency." In short, what I'm trying to say is that if marijuana can help me as much as it does, I can only imagine what it can do for people who have worse medical conditions than I do. I can only hope that I won't have to simply imagine what that will be like for much longer. Well folks, I think I've said more than my piece today, so I'll end this video here. For now, you've been watching Phenixx Gaming. My name is once again David Sanders. Thank you immensely for your time and viewership, and always remember, this channel would be nothing without the continued support of our friends and fans just like you. Happy 420 to those who celebrate, and to those who don't, please try to be less harsh when judging those of us who do. Thank you again for watching, my friends, and I'll see you again soon.